Cypher, State, and Hot playing against some top 300 people in quick match 3v3. Where's that ranked 3v3, huh? Where's the ranked team games already? We need these guys to feel the true suffering. So I feel like right now, quick match is going to be a little bit of a coin flip. I'm hoping this game is going to deliver. We're just quickly fast forwarding because this is live and they're about 4 minutes in. But looks like we are going to get French on each side, English on each side. But then there's a switch up. It's double English out of these filthy bullies. That's right, because if you guys are unfamiliar with the lads on team 1, they're all high ranked. So Goliath, if you don't know who that is actually good old Hut, who I don't think I need to introduce to anyone. I mean, this guy, in terms of the weekly points for the Road to Wall, I think he's in the top 8. Really, really talented player. Love watching him. He's always entertaining. He's 48th in the world in ranked 1v1s right now. You've got Cypher. Cypher's an interesting one, actually. Cypher hasn't really been playing ranked. It's kind of a little bit surprising here. I think a lot of people noticed the name Cypher. I think the last time I can remember seeing him like thrive and competitive was the start of the year in the 3v3 tournament. But this guy, you know, in terms of Age of Empires, he hasn't really earned anything, but he comes from StarCraft 2. And actually, I think he's one of the higher earners in the Australian region with $51,000 earned from playing competitive. So definitely no pushover. Finally, rounding out the team, we have, of course, got... Wait, we already done Goliath. State. Good old State. I love State. State is actually, for those unfamiliar, a top 30 player. Like, he's ranked 30th on the leaderboards right now. He actually finished Season 1 ranked 33rd. He also does a lot of commentary work in StarCraft, as well as PUBG. So he keeps very busy. Yeah, he still manages to find some time for a game that he loves, to play with some boys that he loves. And we're going to see what they can do, because this looks like it could be filthy. Double English is an interesting play. Makes a lot of sense on a map like Danube River. Danube River, I think, is actually a very strong map for the English. I remember saying this a long time ago, and I remember when we were having the 3v3 meta for the tournament, it was actually a big transition that we saw coming out, is like a few teams started to switch up into the English. I think most notably, Kelazor's team done it a lot, and it was really, really effective, even against the best teams, because you're able to move out Lombos early and snipe down all these fishing boats. And unless your opponent builds outposts on the central island side of the river, he has no way of actually preventing you from doing this. No unit that you can build on the waterfront at this stage is going to be able to match the Lombos. Even the Hawks. It's pretty scary to think about. And I think that's why they went for the double English here. Cool thing as well is they picked the French to round out, so they actually have flexibility to raid on land while shutting down eco on water. It's actually a really crafty play. And we're already seeing step 1 of this. State is moving forward. Outposts are going to go up. They might scout this, but they can't actually react to it quick enough because the tech up timings don't really match up to get units out. Remember, that over here, we've got Huku, who's playing as the French. Well, the cool thing that's happened here is that State has prioritized him as a blockout because he's going to build hulks if he can. However, those hulks always come at a delay because the requirement is 540 resources to build one. Compare that to most of these ships at around 250 max resources, or maybe galleys at 360. Like, it takes so much longer to reach, and you're already seeing the result of that. Huku having to run all the way down south, far, far away. Right now, he's the only one they could have prioritized, because the interesting detail here is actually the other two players did not go for the water at all. The Mongol player instead has opted to go for trade. An ambitious and interesting choice here by Making News. Making News, who I believe was a top 300 player. Huku, I think, is 94th in the world in 3v3s. I couldn't find the details on Minato because I hate you for typing your name like this. But hopefully, we're going to get a pretty fairly matched series here. I think these guys usually play together, so this is like a pre-made versus pre-made. And looks like because he didn't go on the water, Minato did go for the double TC opening as the English. While the Mongols, like we said, are going to be going for that trade. That trade is a long route and could be exposed, though. Remember that you are up against the French, so there is always a risk of raids coming in. But in the meantime, the raids are on the water side still. Cypher mirrors the build-up coming out from Huku. He's going to get nothing for free in this game. It's so frustrating as well because he's built so many fishing boats that he wants to maintain value. The reason he moved away, by the way, is not because of the Lombos on their own. It's the outposts. Remember the outposts got fixed. They actually do get bonus damage now against fishing boats. So they're an incredibly lethal element of gameplay, whereas before they were kind of a shrug. And it seems like he has no reaction to this outpost right now. He's like, well, I'm probably going to eventually lose the fishing. I might as well just try to get what I can. Shout out to EGC coming in with a sub. I appreciate it. This is the moment where I start pointing out to everyone that they could use Twitch Primes on this channel instead of EGC. I mean, no, I didn't hear that. Thanks, bestie. Appreciate it, dude. Meantime, though, Huku coming around. Looks like he blocks out the outpost just in time. Great move there. Really important he does this as well. Because the moment that this goes up, right, like, I don't think Huku can afford to go for another dock. It's just too much investment at that stage. So getting this block on this is critical to actually staying alive here and scaling, because remember that Huku didn't go for a second TC. He played 1 TC, so he'd be heavily crippled in the race here, especially when the other people are probably looking to escalate. In fact, if we look up here, we can see the escalation coming out from Heart is going to be a move up towards Castle Age. Pretty damn quick as well. Meantime, also, State is going to go for that 2 TC build, understandably so. The difference here, by the way, you're seeing the difference in choice, right? 2 players went for fishing. I actually love this build. This is really optimal. Shoreline fish don't last that long. They don't replenish. And also, the gathering rates aren't even that great, so it's not even that desirable, right? Unless you're going to do fishing with villagers. So you don't really want to have 3 players going for fish, right? 3 players fishing is fishing for a loss. It's just not enough to justify it to allow you to scale, which is what you're seeing, right? Like, a hut is up to, what, like probably close to 20 fishing boats? Over 20, in fact? 22. Now, if State was here as well, they'd probably maybe get 15 max, and it would still dry out fast. This way, they've got a player who's transitioning for land already, and they've done it on the other side as well. Like, Minato did not go for this. Even better, actually, for this side is that Huku is the only one playing for fishing, and that's why it's so much more important they blocked out this rush coming out of Team 1. Because if they lose the fishing here, like, Huku is just crippled and useless. And the other 2 players aren't invested in a way that they want to defend that. They also can't defend it on land or join on sea to help because they've gone for their own eco benefits. You've got the Mongols going for the Silver Tree build, and then you've got the English going for this kind of atypical double TC build on big maps that we see so frequently out of them. Speaking of the English, now marching forward because the Lombo spam has begun. Seems they want to punish Hut for that tech up. It's actually a great read as well. Like, think about what's actually happened here. Hut has not shown a single aggressive unit yet. Huku was already forced to build into Knights to defend his own water line. So he's justified in a double down, especially now that Minato is assisting. Cypher. The problem for Cypher here is he went for a 1 TC build after the docks, and now he's going for the secondary of the King's Palace, but this King's Palace doesn't defend him, and he's the frontline runner here. He has to be the bottom of this formation. He has to be the tank. He's going to have to tank a lot of damage. You can see Hut now trying to react to bring his own Knights in. He does have veterancy advantage. And Cypher has now teched up, so he'll be able to get the counters out. Feels like the time of this attack may be slightly off, and the reason it's going to be slightly off is this detail here. Lombos are not fast, folks. Lombos actually do not work on maps like this. So you can try for a cheeky little edge attack like State is doing right in the early phase, but if you all-in Lombo push on a map like Danube, you're playing from behind. When you want to do this play, you do it on maps like Dry Arabia, because in a 3v3, you get a kind of staggered formation, so 2 people are close together, right? They're able to attack each other very quickly. That's where the English Lombo spam can be really good. But this is like maximum distance, right? This is running a marathon. This is either, you know, you are buffed up and you definitely did not skip leg day, or you get out of breath grating cheese. And the issue with Lombos, they more often than not look like they're getting out of breath grating cheese. Do love this switch up, though. Looks like McInnes is getting involved at this stage. The Magadai could be really impressive, especially if he finds a way of scaling. He has so much gold. I want to see him reach up. If he actually reaches Castle and then invests hard into these Magadai with the upgrades, I actually think he completely relegates Hut to irrelevance. And that's going to put even more pressure on Cypher to deliver the Lombos. I think the thing that might keep him back from doing it wholly is the fact that he's up against double English. So they could easily spam a lot of Lombos out, and Lombos are Magadai's worst nightmare. Like, this is a glass cannon unit. It's built to overwhelm and destroy through power, not through defense. And the issue with that power is it comes at the crippling range deficiency here. You're talking 3.5 range compared to 7. It's very difficult to compare to these Lombos, and it's why I actually think they're going to have to go for a late timing. I'm expecting the Mongol player to probably switch up into Lancers as a standardized, just to support the Knights. And the cool thing you can do there is if he tanks with his Lancers and the Knights get the charge afterwards, Huku can still take the edge. Meanwhile, pushback coming out. Hut just trying to wrap here. He's going to start pushing the back. In the meantime, walls have gone up from Minato, though, so trying to make sure that they can't completely be flipped on. Things will slow down for the moment. This is where we should see the remaining players make up to Castle. They'll want to do that because the remaining players are all on Team 2. First one ticks up in Minato. God, looking at that text does some weird stuff to my eyeballs. So the good news actually about this delayed hustle up is they have a standing army. So they do pose somewhat of a threat. It's not just a, haha, you castled up, now we're going to kill you. This is where you're probably going to actually see Team 1 just double down on their own tech ups. I'm actually expecting, especially State in this situation, to try and inflate. Yes, I didn't mean for that to rhyme. The problem for State right now, as you're seeing, is like he played onto Pocky Ecos. He actually didn't extend straight into the farms. Remember that he didn't go for the fishing either. So the issue for State that's going to slow him down, but will accelerate him in the next 3 minutes or 4 minutes, is that he didn't have the farm set up. I do think State is meant to be the booming player here, though. Like, Hut got his timing into Castle, but now his role is to start controlling mid-map via the Knights. He's really the only one that can. I love the support from Cypher, though. Spears here to make up the other half of the composite is phenomenal. And actually, Spears plus Knights here can counter out most of what the Team 2 are going to do, especially now that Mekinews is not continuing the Magdai spam. He's only up to 10. I wouldn't consider this a continuance. I consider this like a small raid force, but he hasn't made it his entire army yet. Meanwhile, Hulks. Hold on. State snuck in the ships. Okay, so that's food eco done. Huku's now in trouble. Because Huku is still playing 1 TC. He went back for the secondary. But make no mistake, folks, this is heavily delayed. Huku's now become a liability because there was no assistance on the waterfront. And there never was going to be, right? You're massing Knights here, massing way too many to actually afford any ships. The Magadai haven't come through in a quantity that could ever match ships. And your English player looks like he's posing a greedy stance here. Like, the Lombo count doesn't impress me. In fact, if we look at the number from Nato right now, it's just 20 Lombos. Way too greedy here. I'm going to pay a price for it. And they are actually in trouble because the issue they have is one of their players went trade. This is what makes Mongols really uncomfortable with playing 3v3s. If you don't have good tempo and constant aggression, if you fall back for a second and that trade line gets exposed, because most Mongols will go for trade, your game shuts down instantly. Especially with the numbers that he's pushing. You can see like he's barely floating 1,000 at this stage because he's teching up. Mongols are rising up into Imperial ahead of everyone else. Huku, in the meantime, still a fat liability. Finally make his way up with the Royal Institute. Love this choice. Has a lot of Knights. Has justification. He's got probably about 30 Knights now. 26. So this makes total sense. Royal Bloodlines and Canted Saddles are high-value choices here. Especially considering you've seen Hut's composition. And it should be obvious that he didn't go for the Royal Institute himself, considering that it's been so long and his Knights still don't have that extra health. Meanwhile, Cypher. The worst fight imaginable to take there. Goliath was not willing to help. Hut's like, nope, I guess this is your tomb. You can stay in it. I'm not joining you. We'd love to see some proxy bases coming at. There we go. I was about to say, like, right now, the issue with playing double English is you don't actually have the means to cross the map. So this is actually a really big point that State's building up this Rax force. He's going to look for a dive-in. I think there's going to be a massman of man-at-arms. He could go spears, but realistically, like, you're still threatened by the arrival of Lombos. I think man-at-arms just makes a lot more sense. It's just something hard to headbutt into the base. People are asking why my mum is not VIP'd. It's simple. She didn't beg for it. Like, you know, that's how it works. You have to beg to be a VIP'd in this world. It's a cruel world, I know. I think Cypher's just going to bass Lombo Spears, actually. Yeah, this should be Lombo Spears coming from him, and then Man-at-Arms Lombos coming from State. Looks like he has started to mix in Knights, actually. Quite an interesting detail. I was like, This does feel greedy from Mekinews going for the second TC now. I actually think he needs more military force. Like, he's at 18. I think he's a giant liability to his team right now. And this is going to become obvious very quickly. Like, look at the posturing coming out from Team 1. They're along your bank here. And they're taking out your bank now. The Man-at-Arms made their way in. Cypher discovered the goodies. Now, these Man-at-Arms are not good enough to take out the traders. But they are going to cause a problem here. Heavy chip damage coming in. The outpost is going up. It's going to be a defensive outpost, but Minato right now reacting with his entire army to 2 Man-at-Arms. You need to be careful with this, because it's going to expose you elsewhere. And I think we've seen that exposure coming out. Huku, for the time being, able to hold off State. The State is fighting lonesome. In the meantime, Hart, of course, went full greed. He did make his way up into Imperial Age, but he needs to start contributing. Right now, these Knights haven't really done much. I feel like Huku is doing a lot better with his French Knight aggression, just trying to match and mirror movements, where Hart has kind of just, I don't know, been a little bit Schmeagle about this, right? My precious, don't hurt my precious. Which can make a lot of sense if you're going for like a 200 pop cap rush timing. I think that's exactly what he's aiming for as well. You can see the upgrades coming out. This is going to be a really big one up over Huku. Huku, who has a similar amount of Knights, but now it's going to be Castle Age Knights versus Elite Knights. Ay, ay, ay. And in the meantime, you can see Cypher. This is a pretty cool like double tap move. The logic here, what they're playing with right now, like Team 1 want to push through the embankment, through the crossing, to draw the entire army up north. And when that happens, Cypher's goal is to go through on the south side and take out the trade. And it should work quite effectively here because of the static army being fielded by Minato and the lack of any real army being shown by Mekionus. The other play they do have, by the way, is Sacred Sites. It's a bit no man's landy right now because of what Minato's done here, but if they want, they could push past this and go for Sacred Site control. I actually think it's just better to raid that eco line, though. Like, the eco is so exposed. And the issue that I think Team 2 has is the only person who can defend it is Huku. Like, really, Mekionus doesn't actually defend himself. Mekionus isn't really doing anything but being as greedy as possible. You can see the Lancers coming out now. But this delay should have been punished. Of course, we have God Vision, so we can kind of say that. We have to think about it from Team 1's perspective. Like, they do not see in this side of the map at all. So they probably expected it to be better defended. In the meantime, the Hulk fleet continue to be an annoyance from State. Not good enough, though. The problem is when a 3v3 map, the depth that comes on the edges is so wide that the effect of these Hulks is pretty underwhelming. Rush out, mistakes made. Mekionus wishing he had more Magadai here. Heavy hit coming in. I don't know why he's taking this clash right now. This is a bad clash to take. These are Royal Knights. Show some damn respect. Continues to back up. He's waiting for reinforcements to come out. Limited reinforcements arriving. Huku just sending in small groups of Knights to be butchered right now. Tech up coming out from Cypher in the meantime. Imperial Age reached, and now the push begins from the English as well. Does need to get some siege on the southern side if he wants to access that trade. The timing of this attack doesn't seem to actually match up that well because of the walls that are up. Alive. Going in hot. Sees an opportunity. If he strikes east side here, he can hit into the eco of his mirrored French player. In the meantime, though, the clash continues. The melee mosh pit, which he is winning. Minato now arriving with his troops who coming in with the backup. But they're cleaning up the stragglers, and that's going to buy time for Hut to try and wrap out here towards the defense of the Hawks. Traps in the meantime sieging through, and it looks like instead of actually getting out, Hut might want to go deeper here. Starting to get cut off, but still with plenty of Knights to work with. This is an opportunity to actually go after Eco. Instead, he takes the fight while he still has the elite advantage here. As remember, Huku is not teched up. And losing even half of these Knights is going to delay his tech up timing by another 2 or 3 minutes, at least. It's a damn good trade. Second wave coming in as well. This wraparound, it looks like Huku made a mistake. He didn't body block this, so instead of actually having Minato do support, Minato is going to be thrown under the bus. Especially with the second wave coming in, State now arriving. And keep in mind, this is primarily Lombos from Minato, not able to hold for long. Cypher, in the meantime, can you build a siege workshop? Come on. This is ridiculous. All right, 2 versus 3, guys, and it looks like Team 2 is still, oh, sorry, the Team of 2, rather, is still winning. This is just all Hut and State right now. Cypher's just, I don't know, scrolling through a dating app or something. He's just checking out all the options right now. Well, he checks out of this battle for the moment. He's looking to check in now. He has got the trebuchets finally pushing out the Wingard Palace, but this delay makes you wonder what damage could have been done if this was 3 versus 3 right now. Because so far, Hart is just dominating this fight. And State now arriving with the backup needed to siege in as well as push deeper. Man-at-arms and spears en masse. Man-at-arms tanking into this. Trying to bait him in. You can see that Hut has slowed down for the moment because Hut does need to rebuild his army. Chivalry will start to kick in to offset damage done to the still existing Knights. Meanwhile, Cypher is prepping. Trebuchet is almost there. He's going for a full keep drop. Maybe 3 or 4 minutes sooner, but we'll take it. This delay has to be frustrating for his teammates, but in the meantime, his teammates have secured the sacred sites as a countdown. I think that's been about 2 minutes at least so far. And the issue that I do see right now for Team 2 is if they try to move out troops to decap on the west, they're going to be weak down on the east. And I don't think you can afford to be weak at all. Like, you just saw what happened in a 2v3 situation. It was one-sided. That might happen again. That's why, if anything, Team 2 need to push in on the center mass here. State, in the meantime, has reached Imperial Age. It is now just Huku lagging behind. Huku, who is unlikely to rush a tech up because, remember, he sacrificed a lot of knights. He needs to rebuild. Calming moment, but not for long. Cypher starting to siege in. Stonewall Gate now on fire, soon to fall. Access will be gained for Cypher. A keep does block his way, but he could easily torch it down, especially at this rate, considering that the boiling oil hasn't even been researched yet. Meantime, on the east side, the clash coming in. The walls have been breached. They're going to have to fight here. Push out. Hart standing his ground. The Lance is there to match up against the Rule Knights now coming through, but body blocked by that first wave of Lances. Backside control looking good. A peel back coming out in the meantime, as it looks like the spears are getting involved, and that's going to push Huku back, but the Lombos are now going to start reigning supreme. Frontline not able to hold for long. State needs to get more troops out in vaster quantities. Man-at-Arms and Spearmen quickly being pushed across. The Mangonels now coming out as well. Mangonels, a brilliant answer, as there's a limited amount of anti-siege. In fact, no anti-siege so far. Only the bombards, but they arrive too late. The front line is starting to bow. In a 3v2, the numbers are finally winning. Cypher needs to get involved, but Cypher is not pushing in. Instead, he is now reacting to the central island. Instead of getting that flank attack going, it looks like it's just going to be a delayed arrival, and that delayed arrival is going to allow Team 2 to gain a lot of ground here. I don't know. For me, what Cypher's doing here kind of feels subpar. I still don't mind his peel-off if he gets a few knights and dives in. I think you need to shut down this eco. It might be irrelevant at this stage, considering the numbers the Mongols are starting to field with over 5,000 surplus gold. But right now, like, you know it's there. It's limited defenses, and yet it's not being blocked or prevented at all. It feels like a missed opportunity here. And now with these timings, now with them opening up in the center island, you might have missed your opportunity to ever go for it. Team 2 getting in deep. Huku, because of that formidable fight they took, because of how favored it was for them, he is finally caught up into Imperial Age. Needs a minute or two on those tech ups, but then he's ready to roll. Elite Knight's just a minute away. And that means that Hot needs to tell his boys, I think we need to take a fight. Before that comes out, Reboldaquins in a stealth forest could be big here. Remember, Team 1 is the only one with vision. Over those Reboldaquins are camping and not moving right now. Clash comes out, that's going to push Huku back. We'll try and stand his ground as the Magadai are there to assist. Man-at-Arms now marching forward up against the Lombos that are retreating, but they can get a wraparound. They can get a pinch. If they get around the backside here, the Knights will not be able to retreat, and Huku could lose the entire army. Reboldaquins are now here, ready to open fire whenever you are, and there it is. Shot's going to start coming through. This can really turn it, especially if they don't identify it straight away. The lines begin to spread out. However, they are wrapping around, and you can see that Team 1 is now gaining ground. Looks like Monado about to lose the entire army here. Barely any Magadai remaining. The Knight count now going low for Huku as he goes down to almost 20 maximum remaining. Sure, he gets his tech ups, but look, Elite Knight only just came out, and yet the whole army is dead. Mistakes have been made. Outpost came up too late there. Team 2 feeling too confident, too cocky about momentum being on their side. They throw it away, and now all of a sudden, all 3 players are needing a rebuild of an army fast. But not Team 1. Team 1 is ready to roll. They are on patrol, and they are diving in deep. Defensive keep to be built up here, but Huku has not got any boiling oil. This will not last long. Dive in deeper. Torch damage now amassing here. Half the troops peeled off to keep chasing deeper into the Magadai and the hand cannoneers. As McKinneys is trying to go for the premium transition, but it's going to take so long to get towards, and you have to question mark what the damage is going to be, what the toll is going to be here, because 40 Royal Knights are now let loose into your economy. McKinneys just trying to rush up as many outposts as possible. Remember, those outposts, you need to get the emplacements as well. That's going to take time on a structure that only has 750 HP. Make no mistake, the Mongols are no longer a reactionary outpost civ. They need them in place ahead of time. And because they're not there, it means your opponent's going to go deep. The one redeeming quality is this. It's the Red Palace, but my God, Huku, put some troops inside it. Because right now, you are not getting maximum damage. You could have 15 Arbalists firing for maximum DPS, but instead, State's army, where it should be dead, still exists. It's not starting to exist anymore. It's a front line for Monado, because it looks like Goliath is going deeper and deeper. Hart trying to prevent him from ever actually building up a surplus of troops, or at least regrouping them together. All the while, dive-ins continue, and eventually they should be able to reach the trade line, but for the time being, there it is. There's the pull-off that I was looking for. Hart takes half the Knights, goes into the food eco of the English player, and will also double dive into the trade. This is the crippling detail we were looking for, and Monado, he has got plenty of food in reserve, but it's going to take time to rebuild, and it's going to be frustrating. It's not the food that's the problem. It's the loss of gold. Think about the enclosures here and the amount of villages that he's going to lose because his static army cannot react to this. Remember, wave after wave coming behind this. I'm starting to feel like this game is a loss now. Like, the issue is they don't control a choke point, and the flood out continues. And the flood is strong. Like, man-at-arms to block in 2 players, and Knights to go and kill off the other's economy. Speaking of economy kill-offs, the trade's been found. And just 5 or 6 Knights will reduce this to nothing. You can see right now, up at 35, but that is not going to last forever. McKinnu's, yeah, he's got 7K in reserve, but not for long. And it's not just the gold that I'm worried about, it's more the food. Sure, it's only 20 extra food per donkey, but that adds up quickly. You need every bit you can get going into Mass Magadai and Lancers. You just won't have it anymore. Outposts, we talked about how long they take. The cannon placements, they're incredibly pricey. Take an incredibly long time to build. Too long, in fact. And this is a throwaway. McKinnu's is trying to get rid of the siege. He's going to lose the entire army again and get barely anything for it. And with the keeps coming out from State, with them stabilizing now on the shores of their opponent's base, it feels like an all too easily assured victory. Knights in, raiding even deeper. I got to give him credit. A little bit weird with the play on the west side from Cypher, but once they regrouped in the center, the patience paid off. The fact that they set up on that central island first, the fact that they had vision in that stealth forest is the key detail that gave them control of this game. I actually think Team 2 jumped the gun here. They had infinite scalability. They did not need to rush into that central island, but they got cocky, they got confident. They took one good fight and thought that that was all that was coming, not respecting the forward proxy bases their opponents had built that also gave them vision, gave them that critical element that gave them control. That dive-in was way too cocky. And it's exactly why Team 1 were able to quickly turn this around to their side again and close out the game.